switching things up today with a cozy little sketch with me video.
But Allie, you hate sketching in front of people.
I know, who am I? I've been trying to face a lot of my creative fears this year, and it's time to make a little bit of a bigger effort at tackling this one. So today I'll be doing some figure studies using these amazing references from AdorkaStock. Is that how you pronounce that? I don't know, this account on DeviantArt. They have a lot of incredible reference photos, great props, great models, great poses. So I've picked out a few that I'm going to be sketching today and stylizing as the little tomato girl. We're going to be doing a little bit of some mental gymnastics to stylize the pose and try to create the costume from imagination. So let's grab some tea, grab our sketchbooks, and get started. Because today's video is more on the chill, cozy side, I wanted to take the opportunity to catch up with you guys. Share with you a little bit about what I've been doing lately, what's going on in my life, the wins, the failures, all the things. So let's start with the creative side. You may be surprised to hear that I did in fact participate in Inktober this year. I made a video last year about why I didn't participate in Inktober, and I think for where I was at in my creative practice at the time, that was a very good choice. I wasn't in a good place with my creativity, I was burnt out, and my mindset toward art was not good. The thought of doing a 30-day challenge was absolutely exhausting. At that time, I needed those weekends off from planned creative time. I'd been viewing art simply as work or a chore, and I just didn't need a challenge like this to exacerbate that issue. This year, however, I'm in a much better place with my creativity. Y'all are probably tired of hearing me talk about this, but I spent a good amount of time working on my relationship with creativity this year, and I'm so excited to be making art joyfully again. I've been consistently creating something every day for several months now, not like as a chore or something to mark off my to-do list, but because I genuinely believe that it's good for me. It keeps my skills in shape, it keeps my creative muscles going. So when Inktober popped up in the calendar for 2024, I decided on a whim that I wanted to give it a go. And since I'd rediscovered my love for dip pen drawings during my little healing journey, I was even more excited to have a whole month of just using dip pens. So I looked at the official prompt list, and it did not spark joy. Some of the prompts looked kind of fun, so I did use those, but most of them I was like,
Nah, I'm not vibing with that.
So instead, I put together my own prompt list. So going into Inktober, I knew I wanted to work on a little bit more storytelling. Originally, I'd planned on dividing the prompts between bits and bobbles and developing the story of the little bird skull girl, who is now named Ivy. But after like the first 2 days beginning Ivy's story, I decided to go in full force, and bits and bobbles fell by the wayside. I don't know, man, I think it was just time to focus on Ivy, I guess. Now for this challenge, the original parameters were simply following the prompts in ink. Just spin my little wheel of prompts and draw whatever it lands on. That's literally it. But then, in typical Allie fashion, I added on a little bit. I decided to write a couple little sentences every day to tell the story. Just seeing if narrative writing was something I was even interested in doing. So a couple sentences every day and an ink drawing. Nothing too big. That lasted for about 4 days, maybe. It is now a full-blown story, and the Word document is quite large. Along the way, I did manipulate some of the prompts to fall the way I wanted them to, because I knew how I wanted the story to end, and I didn't want the randomizer wheel interfering with that. So I'd spin the wheel, and if it didn't land the way I wanted it to, I spun it again. Now, did I make it harder than it needed to be? Debatable. If you remember from a couple of videos ago, I was very gung-ho about slowing down with the change in seasons and taking my time on things and prioritizing what's important. And I did technically do that, but that kind of looked like neglecting a significant portion of my other tasks to prioritize Ivy's story. And you know what? I'm okay with that. I think this challenge was exactly what I needed right now. So, why was Inktober so beneficial for me this year? Number one, it helped me realize that I am capable of using other mediums. So if you watched this video where I painted the first look at Ivy, you might remember me talking about limiting beliefs. Beliefs like,
I shouldn't use other mediums besides gouache.
or
I shouldn't illustrate this little bird skull character because it's not the style or theme I typically do.
and this whole challenge with deciding to tell Ivy's story in a medium that isn't gouache, it really helped me finish clearing out any lingering beliefs like those. Even though gouache is where I'm most comfortable, I am capable of exploring a messy and sometimes unforgiving medium like inks. Was it scary? Yes. I was winging it a good 97% of the time. But it was so incredibly fun, and it was such a joy to just step out of my comfort zone and really dive into a different medium. Number 2, it helped me 10x a lot of skills. The most obvious one being line quality. If you spend every single day practicing your line work, you cannot help but get at least a little bit better at it. You're practicing straight lines and soft curves, you're exploring line variations from thin to thick and everywhere in between. Combining a repetitive practice with something cool like developing a story makes what could be a boring practice a lot more fun. It's like sneaky learning. Like hiding spinach in a chocolate milkshake. You're getting what's good for you, but in a really fun way. I think that's where the art education system kind of fails a lot of students because they make practice boring and uninspired. But we're getting off topic. That should be its own video. So it also helped me level up the fundamental skills of composition and values. Every piece was done in this little square sketchbook, so I always had to fit the scene into a square. Now, squares can get really repetitive, so it was very important for me to switch things up with different perspectives, placing my focal point in different areas, and varying up the level of detail in each piece. And if you're wanting to learn more about values, get more comfortable creating value structures, and creating illustrations that read well monochromatically, I don't think there's a better way than with inks. Feel free to disagree with that, but inks rely so heavily on creating readability through value contrast. You're building up these washes of ink and having to decide what values you're grouping together to direct attention to your focal point. Thankfully, Ivy's bird skull gave me this consistent element to create contrast. The bird skull was always going to be the lightest part of the pictures, so placing her head against a background that was even only slightly darker was always an immediate direction to her face, if that makes sense. It also helped me level up the skill of creative discipline. Do I believe creative discipline means creating art every single day? No. Can that be a form of creative discipline? Sure. In this case, it was for me. There were some days that I didn't really feel like making something. Maybe I was extra tired, maybe I had other things to do, maybe I was just grumpy. So for the days I knew I was going to be busy with other things, I usually tried to do my sketch the day before. That way I didn't have to come up with ideas on those days, I just needed to execute it. And on those days, sometimes I just used my multi-liner pens and alcohol markers instead of my dip pen and ink bottle. It was still technically an ink medium, but one that was more portable if I just wanted to sit on the couch with Annie Jane. And on the days that I was just tired or frustrated, I reminded myself that all I had to do was the bare minimum. Literally just sit down and make a little something. If it turned out like crap, that was okay. Usually within a few minutes of sketching, I got a lot more into it because the story was exciting and I was invested in it. But even on the worst days, I always acknowledged how I was feeling or the emotions that were coming up. I reminded myself that it's okay to feel frustrated. It's okay to feel crabby. It's okay if you're not really feeling like it. The only expectation I set for myself was to show up and make something. Just popping in like a little corn kernel to remind y'all that I do have a shop full of prints, stickers, keychains, and originals guaranteed to add a little bit of coziness to your life. Or if you're looking to spice up your own creative practice, I do have a workbook and a few courses available too. And as always, every order is Annie Jane approved. And now, back to the video. Number 3, it showed me that I am capable of writing a story. So a lot of you in my little YouTube community have been quite vocal about wanting me to write stories. Stories about the Merricky Meadow, stories about Bits and Baubles, stories about the little tomato girl. And truthfully, I didn't want to. I wanted my illustrations to speak for themselves. I love when people can look at my artwork and come up with a little story of their own for it. And that is still true. Some of my art, I just want to be art, not like a fully fleshed out story. But I've since discovered that there are 3 other reasons why I was so against writing a story. Number 1, I am defiant. Literally the second someone tells or asks me to do something, even if it's something I've already been wanting to do, my stubborn, simple heart is like,
well, someone asked for this, so no.
I don't know why I'm like this. It's a problem. It always has been for me. I don't know if it comes from a place of,
well, I'm already doing all these other things. Why does anyone want more from me?
or if it's simply stubbornness. I don't know. I'm trying to get over it. It's not you. It's me. Number 2, I didn't believe it was the right time. I know what you're thinking,
There's never a right time, Allie. You just have to do it.
but genuinely, I did not have the time. I was working on way too many other projects and wasn't in a good place with my art. So adding another thing to my to-do list was not the answer. And I stand by that. I don't think it was the right time for me to give narrative writing a try. But number 3, a total lack of confidence. I genuinely did not believe I could write a story. Essays, love them.
I'm a freaking beast at essays.
Scripts for YouTube videos, as long as I have a cup of tea at the ready, I'm good to go writing those. But story writing? That was something I'd given up on in like 5th grade, and I really did not think I could bring it back. What is dialogue? How do you even come up with a plot?
There is absolutely no way I can come up with an interesting story.
So in writing this one, I started off the way I'm most comfortable, which is no dialogue, just kind of poetic language, I guess. I started sharing the first few days of drawings and story snippets over on Patreon. I posted them to where every tier, including the free one, could see, and to my greatest surprise, that is the most engagement I've ever gotten there. I had so many people commenting and messaging me about how much they were enjoying the story and couldn't wait to see what Ivy was gonna do next. And as I grew more excited about the story, so did they, and I started to feel a lot more confident that I could write. Obviously, things would have to be edited a little bit along as the story developed. I had to go back towards the beginning to change a couple of things to make the later parts make sense. But writing every day grew my writing skills and showed me that I am capable of writing. I even started to include some dialogue once Ivy made a new friend. Crazy, I know. So even though writing isn't like an official part of Inktober, I think it was one of the most special things that came out of Inktober for me this year. The challenge proved to me that I could do it, and more importantly, that I wanted to. Maybe there are some stories whacking around in my brain that should come out in words and pictures. And as I'm entering a little bit of a slower season, I feel like writing may fit into that better now. Now, I don't have any grand ideas of writing novel after novel or becoming like a best-selling children's book author, but I'm not opposed to writing now, and in fact, I do want to give it a little bit more of an effort. So who knows, maybe in 2025, 2026, Ivy's story might appear on a couple of shelves. We shall see. So I'm sure there are many other reasons why Inktober was so fruitful for me this year, but those are definitely the top 3, and I'm very, very thankful for them. It's really exciting to have not only this collection of drawings that I had so much fun making, but also a story to go along with them. This year has been a little bit of a roller coaster of different kinds of artwork for me, but I'm very proud for these to be a part of that collection. So what else has been going on? As you know, we're coming up on the holiday season, and I could not be more excited. I love the holidays. Big fan. I also really love gift giving. I've had my chart of what I'm getting everybody for Christmas for far longer than is probably necessary. I don't know, man, I get so excited. And now I have a niece to get gifts for this year too, which is oh so fun. Her nursery is Merricky Meadow themed, so I got her these couple of little woodland stuffed animals. They're so cute. Not gonna lie, I almost put one in my cart for me too, but anyhow. I'm really hoping to get a little bit of extra work done in November so I can take a bigger portion of December off. For one, spending time with my family. For two, having a little bit of a break before the new year to take stock of things, figure out a bit of a game plan for 2025, etc. Maybe take some time away from social media, clear my head, Also just home stuff that I'd like to do. I have a lot of crap that I need to clean out, and I have a lot of things that I just don't use anymore and could probably be helpful to someone else. We've got some house projects to work on, nothing huge, but things I could assist with. But the other part of taking some time off is health. We're coming up on 6th season, so time off might just be mandatory and not a choice. But I would like to have that more built into my schedule.
Scheduled sick time with Allie.
I'm somewhat joking, but truthfully, my health has made a few unwelcome shifts this year, let's say. So having a little bit of time off to do some research, try to figure out what options to pursue, and simply making more time for rest. It's been a very physically and emotionally exhausting year for me, and I think my body and my mind could use some rest. Anywho, I had a ton of fun with these sketches. I think the second pose was my favorite. I didn't think I was going to enjoy that one, but it actually ended up turning out far better than I thought it was going to. That said, I absolutely butchered the face in the third one, but it's practice. Practice makes progress, not perfection. And sometimes we make icky sketches and we just gotta move on. I've really enjoyed doing a little bit more figure sketching these last few months. The human body is pretty incredible. I love learning how to sketch different poses and twists and turns and learning the rhythms of the muscles. I know we don't do these kinds of sketch with me or study with me videos very often, but if you enjoyed this one, let me know and I'll try to do some more of them. It is great practice in helping me to get over my fears of public sketching. Anywho, thank you guys so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed chatting with me about life and Inktober and all the things. Huge thank you to the Cozy and Curious Creatives over on Patreon for helping to support my art journey. I'm so honored to have you in my community, and your encouragement means so much to me. If you're interested in another sketch with me session, then head on over to watch this video next. Thanks again for watching, and I'll see you soon. Bye guys!